About the star-spangled summer that's ahead. But we begin tonight with an update on our favorite reality video program. It features the unvarnished truth about a family living its life right in front of the camera's unblinking eye. In this case, the family is made up of a nest of ospreys on Maryland's eastern shore. The chicks are just a few weeks old now, but soon they'll be asking for the car keys and ready to leave the nest. Joining us tonight is Joel Dunn, the executive director of the CHESAPEAKE Conservancy, provider of the Osprey Nest webcam. Joel, it's great to see you.
It's really nice to be here, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me.
Let's get to the important stuff. The ospreys, how are they doing this year?
They're doing great. There are two chicks in the nest already, and they're growing like crazy. And it's a very productive little family. It's quite an adventure to watch, and our camera's even higher resolution this year than ever. And it's really capturing the passion and interest of people across the Chesapeake Bay, getting them interested in conservation and wildlife and the Chesapeake Bay as a national treasure that we have in our backyard.
We'll give the web address at the end of this segment because I don't want to crash your camera while we're trying to watch it live. But we talked a year ago. It's the same mother and father.
That's right. And
the same nest location. That's right. What have they been doing in the meantime? And it's an amazing story.
Yeah, these birds are wonderful wild creatures. And they fly from the Chesapeake Bay all the way down to South America for the winter. They split up down in South America, spend the winter down there, and come back to the Chesapeake Bay in March every year, meet up at the same location. Ever since 2009, those two birds have been nesting at that site. They mate for life. And
they're able to communicate and somehow reconnect without email or phone calls.
Isn't it amazing?
And so each year there's, if they're successful, there's a few eggs.
Yeah, usually one to 4 eggs. And that will result in anywhere between 1 and 4 chicks. Last year we had 4 eggs and 3 chicks. This year we had 3 eggs and 2 chicks.
And it looks like the chicks are doing pretty well. I looked at this a couple of weeks ago when they first hatched, and it's hard to get a scale of this thing, but the adult bird, if it spread its wings, is about the wingspan of a human. It's about 6 feet.
6 feet. They stand over 2 feet tall.
And they fly around and look for fish and catch them and bring them back to the nest. But the speed with which the chicks grow is unbelievable.
That's right. And you know, their diet is 99% fish. They're dependent upon menhaden primarily. So the menhaden fishery is very important for these birds to thrive and succeed and grow at that rapid rate.
The nest itself is pretty interesting. You told me intentionally clear the old nest away before they fly south. And then we have a little bit of a time lapse of what it looked like when they arrived back in Maryland around St. Patrick's Day. And obviously that's not a naturally occurring structure. You guys put it there.
We built it, yeah. Nesting sites are one of the limiting factors for osprey in the Chesapeake Bay. And so we have a friend who built this platform at his property and allowed us to put up this high-resolution camera. He's actually been observing these birds for years. He clears the nest in the fall to allow them to rebuild it every spring. And you can see in these time-lapse photos how the nest grows. And this all happens within the span of a week or two. The birds will mate during that time, lay eggs within 2 weeks.
There you go.
Those eggs will hatch within 36 to 42 days. And those birds will then fledge from the nest, meaning they will fly out of that nest about 2 months later, 7 to 8 weeks later. They'll learn to get their wings, so to speak, and in the fall, they will fly to South America, just like their parents, but they'll spend 2 or 3 years down there before they come back to the Chesapeake Bay to find their own mates and repeat that cycle.
Wow. Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question about the osprey, is that plural? Osprey is the plural. It's not ospreys. Correct. About the osprey, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You could also tweet a question. Our Twitter address is @MPT News. We should talk a minute about the conservation story behind the osprey. The idea that in the 50s and 60s, they were all but wiped out.
That's true. So this is an amazing conservation success story. That's the way I like to talk about the osprey. So in the 50s and 60s, just like you said, a chemical called DDT was introduced into the environment to kill insects. But it had this side effect of it reduced the eggshell thickness of birds of prey, like osprey and peregrine falcons and eagles, to the point that it almost eliminated them totally from the Chesapeake Bay. So my watermen friends who grew up working the water in the 50s and 60s were shocked when they saw their first osprey because it was so unfamiliar to them. Now if you go out on the Chesapeake Bay, you go kayaking on the John Smith Trail or the Star-Spangled Banner Trail, you see osprey very, very prevalent out there. But that's only because there's been a resurgence since the elimination of DDT from usage in this country. Conservationists stood up and asked the government to ban that substance, and that over time has allowed the osprey and other birds of prey to return to previous population levels. It's a great success story.
Who are their predators? So when either the mother or father standing guard there is on the lookout for something, and there's a reason they like to build the nest up in the air like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So eagles will prey upon the young. Owls, large owls will prey upon the young. And they nest over the water like that so rats or various other mammals won't get up into the nest and eat the eggs.
And if we didn't say it before, this is on the eastern shore, and you don't like to specify exactly where.
That's right. Okay. Well, we just don't want people to flood the site, but it's on Kent Island in the eastern shore of Maryland.
How many video streams, how do you measure the amount of traffic that you're getting?
We're getting about 3,000 hits a day on the website, which is pretty exciting for a small nonprofit like ours that's dependent upon contributions from loyal supporters. That's a big deal for us. So
you told me you gave a talk at the White House, and you got a certain amount of reaction online to that.
Yeah, I gave a speech at the White House to help the president launch his climate data initiative, because sea level rise in the Chesapeake is a big issue, and it's harming habitat for our wildlife. And I was glad to be there. We posted it on Facebook, and we got about 5 to 10 likes. We posted the launch of the Osprey Cam, and we got over 200 likes. I mean, the public really loves this wildlife story. It's what connects them to the Chesapeake. It is our wild story, and we love sharing it.
And it's a little bit of a soap opera. You come back, you see they've gotten a little bit bigger, a little bit fatter, and when are they ready to fly off? Let's take a phone call. This is Myra in Howard County. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is, what happens if only one bird returns to the nest in March?
Good question. Thanks very much.
That's a great question. They will find another mate. Although they mate for life, if they do lose one of their partners, they will find another bird to mate with.
How do you know we've got the same birds here?
Well, they have some markings on them which help us identify them. And the owner of the property is very familiar with these birds and watches them really closely. So he can tell their habits, their markings on their feathers. So we know for sure they're the same birds.
We get some nasty summer storms, especially sweeping across the bay to the eastern shore. The nest we saw, it's just a bunch of sticks sitting up on a platform. How secure do you think it is?
It's very secure. You can watch them weave these sticks together in a way that makes it real stable, and she'll continue to weave those sticks in because as the birds get bigger, they get closer and closer to the edge, and so she will build up the edge of the nest to keep them from falling in the water. So it's a very stable system that they've constructed.
The other thing you see when you watch this for a while is the chicks do a lot of laying around. It looks like me after Thanksgiving dinner. So mom and dad bring in a fish, and they feed pieces of it to the chicks, who it looks like, eat every bit they can and then take a nap. Yeah,
well, then they're conserving energy too. So they're growing like crazy, just like a baby, in our species. It grows fast, sleeps a lot, And they have an extra incentive to grow fast and get their wings beneath them, because you know, they need to eventually start taking care of themselves and be careful about predators. So.
What's that first flight like? I don't think I've seen that.
Well, actually, our friend who owns the site said he's seen one of the birds try to take its first flight and crash into the water. But they generally have a real incentive to make that flight work.
Let's take another phone call. This is Summer in Washington County. Not there. Let me ask you more broadly about the health of the Chesapeake Bay. You talked about your speech at the White House. There was a new agreement signed today. The governor was involved in that.
Yes.
But at the same time, we're hearing about nutrient levels going the wrong direction, creeping up in some places. How do you assess it?
Well, I guess I'd like to say by saying we've seen some progress, and I think today's Bay Agreement is a tremendous step forward to have all of those governments working collaboratively to address this major, large landscape conservation problem is a major step in the right direction. We continue to have significant water quality problems and habitat loss problems. We're losing forest at 100 acres a day. So we collectively as a society need to make a commitment to work together to address these major conservation challenges. I think the Bay Agreement's a great step in the right direction, but we've got a long way to go. What we need to do is we need to get every person in our society to love the Chesapeake Bay, to vote for the Chesapeake Bay, to donate to your local nonprofit that's working to address these issues. And our kids need to commit their careers. Those that have a passion for conservation need to be encouraged to commit their careers to conservation like I have.
It's so interesting how technology is helping you spread that word.
It's really, I mean, I think it's the way to go. It's opening new doors with the public. And other industries have used technology to advance their industries to great effect. The conservation community needs to do the same. And the Osprey camera is just one small example of that. We're using satellite imagery to produce high-resolution land use, land cover data that is advancing the conservation movement and giving us better information on where to invest limited conservation dollars.
Let's take another call. This is Sarah in Frederick County. Sarah, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, what happens if one of the babies falls in the water? Do their parents get them back out?
That's a good question too. The challenging part of watching this Osprey reality show is that sometimes bad things happen, and that's a part of nature. And sometimes when they fall in the water, they drown. That's a very real thing that happens.
I've seen them. Go ahead.
Well, sometimes they're rescued by people that help pull them out of the water. But it is a tragedy if it happens.
I've seen them standing on the edge, and I honestly, I think what they might have been doing was going to the bathroom over the side.
Yeah, they do that because they don't want to go on their own.
Don't stand under the osprey nest. But there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean it's instinct. But if they excrete their waste outside the nest, they don't have to live in it. And
Excellent.
It reduces the amount of
bugs and
things that'll come into the nest.
Let's go out to Caroline County. This is Gail. Gail, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hi. I know that there is a competition level between eagles and osprey, especially along some of the inland rivers. Can you tell me what the nature of that is?
Thanks very much.
Yeah, we've seen that indeed, but the ospreys tend to nest earlier and at different times than the eagles. So the eagles nest in the winter. It's really interesting. We actually set up an eagle camera this winter too, but eagles have 3 nests, and it decided to nest at one of the alternative nests.
You need 3 cameras.
Yeah,
clearly.
but maybe this winter our eagle camera will come live. But they nest at different times, so that helps differentiate the availability of food and negotiate the competition for resources, which is good. There is some competition, but that differentiation in mating periods has helped with reducing conflict, I believe.
Let's go out to Talbot County. This is Amy. Amy, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Hi, my question is, we live on a small cove in Talbot County, which already has ospreys living in the vicinity. I mean, I see them diving all the time. But if we added an osprey platform, I guess basically how territorial are they? How much competition do they take for space?
Good question. I've seen them nesting within 100 feet of each other. And I think that as long as there's enough food available, then it's possible that they would nest on a platform were you to build one. There are some regulations that the state has for putting platforms out on your property, so you might want to check on that before you put one in. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I liked your comment about you've seen them diving to catch fish. They're remarkably good at catching fish. 1 out of 4 dives, they'll catch a fish. I mean, that's pretty good odds.
I've read that they'll fly around, they'll look, spot something, and then it's not like they dive head first. It's the talons, right?
That's right, yeah. And they'll grab it with their talons.
And that's
and
it.
then
For
pull
the,
it out,
that's
and
it
then
for the fish.
They'll fly around the nest with the fish. Unfortunately, we can't show you that because the camera doesn't show you what the male's doing after he catches a fish and brings it back to the nest. But before he lands, he's flying around with it, showing it off to Audrey above the nest. And he typically eats the head of it and brings her the back end of it. It's really interesting.
I'm sure the back end's the nicer part.
Yeah, I did want to mention that our friends at Skyline Technology Solutions helps us with the camera. They're a local Glen Burnie company, and we wouldn't be able to do this without them. And a foundation, the Shared Earth Foundation, helped us pay for our staff time associated with manning the camera.
That's great, and they've done a great job. And now we have some empty nesters. It looks like mom and dad are both out for a second.
Yeah.
Video freezes periodically, but
she could be very nearby,
right.
Perched on the dock, or sometimes Tom will even sit above the camera, right out of view. But they're not left unattended for very long.
What are we doing about names? Do you have a contest going or anything?
We do. So we have an Osprey Club. For donors who give us over $100, we allow them to participate in the naming contest for the Ospreys. They get a picture and they can come to a lecture we have once a year. This year, Dr. Paul Spitzer was our guest lecturer. He's been studying Ospreys for 30 years. Amazing guy, gave this wonderful speech. Anyway, so if you join the club, become a member, you can participate in the naming contest.
All right, and this is a good time to, now that we're done with the webcam, tell everybody where it is.
So our organization is the Chesapeake Conservancy, and you can find us and the Osprey camera at ChesapeakeConservancy.org.
Very good.
And if you forget, you can just Google Osprey camera Chesapeake Bay, and it'll come up.
There you go right there. Very good. Joel Dunn, thanks so much. Good work.
Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Just ahead tonight, we're going to learn more about the Star-Spangled Spectacular. We'll be right back.
Next time, treasures of the Ocean State roll in again on Antiques Roadshow Vintage Providence.
I've never seen this toy. No one I can find has ever seen it.
Wow. Really? Yes. Wow!
Yes. Can you guess what values went up, down, or stayed the same? Find out next time on Antiques Roadshow.
Tonight at 8 on MPT.
Next time on Midsummer Murders.
Dead?
A man is killed for a priceless musical score, but Barnaby has it checked out.
We have ourselves a forgery. And the original's still out there somewhere.
And when a collector in possession of the score drowns...
What if he'd found out the whole thing was a fake?
Barnaby and Scott suspect the forger may be the killer.
Bingo.
See if Barnaby plays it right.
I say that's a strong possibility, wouldn't you?
On Midsummer Murders.
Tonight at 9 on MPT.
Success is defined by getting to the World Cup. In the midst of protests or the violence, there's still the chance to do something special. A World Cup qualifier, this is a day we've been waiting for.
Tonight at 10:30 on MPT.
And joining us now is Bill Pencek, who is the Executive Director of the Maryland War of 1812 Bicentennial Commission. Bill, good to see you.
Good evening, Jeff. Great to be here.
So obviously the War of 1812, or at least the 1812 Bicentennial, has come and gone, but the War of 1812, for reasons I still don't understand, lasted through 1814. And that bicentennial is coming up this year, importantly, with the bicentennial of the writing of the Star-Spangled Banner.
That's correct. Despite the name War of 1812, it was a 32-month-long war. Really didn't end until 1815, actually, February 1815. But the most dramatic moment of that entire 32-month period happened in Baltimore Harbor on the Patapsco River, September of 1814. So it's that 200th anniversary event which we're about to celebrate.
And that was the bombardment of Fort McHenry. Francis Scott Key watching this from a British vessel, penning the Star-Spangled Banner and seeing the flag still there in the next morning.
That's correct, and Marylanders giving America two of its most significant icons, both the flag, made by Mary Pickersgill, her household of free, enslaved, indentured women, now in the National Museum of American History. Nearly 5 million visitors a year seek it out, the most sought-out object in the entire collection of the National Museum of American History. And then, of course, the anthem, Marylander Francis Scott Key, being inspired to pen that lyric in Baltimore Harbor.
So this is big stuff. I mean, anniversaries like this don't come around all that often. What are we doing about it?
Oh, all kinds of things. Again, yeah, as you said, this amazing reversal of fortune moment. Maryland gave the nation these two icons. It's time for us to reclaim that. What we're doing, a whole variety of things. Many of the viewers hopefully will remember Star-Spangled Celebration in June 2012. That was the 200th anniversary of the launch, the start of the War of 1812. This coming September, for the 200th anniversary, we're doing sort of a celebration 2.0. The return of tall ships and gray hulls, the Blue Angels, festivals, continuous festivals for a week all around the harbor.
Big concert, which MPT is helping to broadcast nationally on PBS. And I don't know that we've announced talent for that yet, but it's going to be big.
Talent is to be announced very soon, and it's going to be very exciting. But it's true. We really value this partnership with Maryland Public Television and the public broadcasting system, and great performances. So on the evening of Saturday, September 13th, it's the 200th anniversary, literally, of the bombardment. There will be a 2-hour-long live broadcast across the nation from Baltimore, from the Pier 6 Concert Pavilion and Fort McHenry, commemorating this magic moment. The biggest fireworks display ever on the Chesapeake since 1814, staged by Fireworks by Grucci. They're America's first family of fireworks.
So how's this going to compare to maybe the coming 4th of July fireworks?
Oh, it will be much bigger. This will be the biggest fireworks display, again, that Baltimore and the Chesapeake have ever seen.
Really? This is a can't-miss-it fireworks display.
This is a can't-miss. I can't give away the secrets, but you cannot miss it.
You know, and it's not just the Battle of Baltimore and the bombardment of Fort McHenry. There were so many other important things, the burning of Washington, Battle of North Point, Bladensburg, and there's commemorations happening for all of these things.
That's right. There is, of course, a backstory to this moment in Baltimore when the British were defeated. It was just 2.5 weeks earlier that Washington was burned. But in the 18 months preceding that reversal of fortune moment, Marylanders all over the Chesapeake fought to defend the Chesapeake, Maryland. And so we are in the process through a series of events we're branding as the Chesapeake Campaign, to celebrate, to commemorate those 200th anniversary events in places like Leonardtown, like St. Leonard, like Cawkes Field, in Kent County, in Brookville in Montgomery County, as well as North Point, or Bladensburg in Prince George's County. Those 200th anniversary festivals are taking place this year.
What's the best way for people to get information about all this?
The best way, the portal website, starspangled200.com.
And what part are you most excited about? It sounds like the fireworks.
Oh my goodness, the fireworks is very exciting, but I have to tell you, with our grant fund,
Couple of seconds.
The many, many diverse ways which Marylanders across the state have seized this.
Bill, thanks for your time. Thank you for joining us for Direct Connection, and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.